Today is July 7th. The MLB draft is this Sunday. We're going to talk all about the draft today, finally, and some baseball too, but focusing on the draft. Who we taking? Who knows? It's the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins, guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I am joined by my brother, Jake. What's up, Jake?
Hi.
We are recording this while the Pirates and the Dodgers are playing Game 4 of this series, hoping to split the series 2-2, as the score is currently in the game. 2-2. Julio Urias has that curveball going tonight.
Yeah,
the thing is ridiculous.
Yep. Oviedo's throwing pretty well too after the rocky first inning. Not even real rocky. I mean, just 2-run bomb.
Yeah, and it seems rocky because, just to let you guys know, like, we were just hanging out when we were, on this, kind of talking about the game and what we were about to get into here. And I kind of went off on the pitching a little bit. As soon as that ball was hit, I, was mad. And if you follow us on Twitter, you know that I also tweeted our pitching stinks. And I was pretty upset. We're going to get into that a little bit tonight, just a little bit, because we're really going to focus on talking about the draft coming up on Sunday. All-Star Week is coming up, but that kind of gets kicked off with the draft, and, the Pirates kind of have an important draft pick coming up.
A little bit.
If you were to guess going into this episode, how many times are we going to ADD switch our minds over to the game going on right now? I feel
Probably
like
quite a few.
We can say whatever we want about it because this isn't live. So we can react live and not be worried about MLB saying, you can't do that. You know what I mean? We can say what we want. Uh-oh, your videos. There you go. It's catching up. All right. So we're going to kind of be watching the game while we record tonight. This is what happens late night bucking. You know what I mean? This is how it happens. Sometimes you have to, we were going to record earlier and then, got pushed back to now. So at least we'll have some game updates.
Yeah.
It's the 5th inning, so likely we'll be finished here before the game's over, but, I don't think it really matters. Jason's Lay just hit a bomb. Psych.
No, Jason Hayward catches it.
Let's get over some news first. Sure. Jose Hernandez sent on a rehab assignment to Indy on the 4th, so maybe soon. And then a couple... Well, this one, Johan Ramirez recalled and Luis Ortiz sent to Indy. He's got to get right. This is part of the pitching frustration. And before we even get into Ortiz, if we're going to, today, Key Brian Hayes is back.
Yeah. And
they sent Roanzi to Indy. So let's take a minute here. To talk about Luis Ortiz or Roanzi Contreras right now.
Well, Contreras is just lost. Like, I don't even know. He's just completely ineffective right now.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because last year, like towards the end of last year, it was, this is our next guy. Like he's going to be a stud. Man, has it just not been panning out? I don't think the move to the bullpen was the right move for him.
You think the Indy move should have been earlier?
Yeah. Yeah, I just think he needs to get himself right. I think, dude, pack it for the season, man. Sorry, just go on the IL.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind him going out. I mean, he's got to figure it out. He's got to figure out what it is. I'm not going to sit here and point to the coaching staff and all these things. Ultimately, the players have to execute.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yes, I think there's an element where we need to fix him, and that is what we pay a coaching staff to do when it gets to this point in a dude's career. I mean, we got to this point with Mitch Keller, and Oscar Marine and him worked and came up with something, and it has changed the trajectory of his career. He's now going to the All-Star game because of that stint. Oh my goodness gracious. Brian Reynolds lost the ball. And Sawinski was looking at him. I don't know what happened. Did Sawinski lose it too? Because it was closer to him.
I don't know. They're just showing them too right now.
Here we go. ADD moment number 1. Fly ball lands in the middle of the field where 2 outfielders could have probably caught it. Oh,
They're
yeah.
not even going to show the replay.
Well, this is that time of day that, you know, you can lose a ball in the sky. They will after the first pitch of this bat.
Yeah, Reynolds has no idea where it is. Sawinski doesn't know where it is. But Sawinski really
should have been the one.
Yeah.
But
right in front of him.
They're looking at each other like, I got no clue where this ball's at.
Right. Crazy.
Yeah.
That doesn't make
kind of hard to
outfielder, just so you know.
What's that?
Tough. So that doesn't make a bad outfielder. That's just a tough.
Yeah, I was about to say, at least in a situation like that, if you got 2 guys who can't see the ball, at least it's not just like, what are you doing out there? That's a pretty, if neither one of them can see it,
right.
I think I think it's okay.
Very good, Nikki G. Nikki G took care of that one. Another one in almost the same spot. Except a little shallow.
Okay, so, I mean, let's not get off topic, but Nick Gonzalez playing shortstop, he's just showing up.
Mm-hmm.
It's been good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
He's been playing a solid defense, and you said off air, you know, maybe the call up, you know, he'll show up when he gets here, and it's exactly what he's done.
Yeah, we might have talked about that in one of the episodes, like just saying, you know, I didn't know that this was the time, but some guys, when they get in that spot, they just show up. And right now, that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere. And I got to tell you, this is what we expected to see from Bay and Castro and Marcano even, is to step up and take it. And I think Gonzalez is, I mean, obviously it's very early.
Yes.
But he's playing like he wants to be there, like he wants to take something with an urgency.
Yep.
And I think that's important, and that's what we're missing from some other guys. Now, granted, you're going good. It's easy to look like that. When you're going bad, it's easy to look like you're not. So,
right.
You know what I mean? We understand how the game goes. I'm not overreacting to that and saying that, you know, oh, of course, when things are going well, it's easy to talk good about somebody. When things are going bad, it's easy to knock them. So I'm not going to go there necessarily, but that's the way it looks right now. So back to Roanzi and Luis Ortiz. I think that the move to the bullpen for Keller was a big move, and the move for Roanzi to the bullpen didn't quite pan out. I mean, because for Keller, it was right away.
Yeah.
But for Roanzi, it's taken some time, and it's not going well. Every once in a while, you kind of see a good inning, and then it just blows up. But at this point, you know, you and I both said before, I mean, it's at the point now where it's losing games.
Yeah.
And it's hurting the team. And he has to go. And the problem with that is that's going to happen on a year when, number one, he should have been one of those guys stepping up. He should have been the number 2 guy. We were counting on that, and it hasn't been there. And then the fact that Brubaker's out, Velasquez is out. We talked about this before. Once you start going down the line of all these injuries, and then you start having poor pitching performances as well, It's a recipe for disaster. And this team was equipped to have depth.
Yeah.
And we're using all of it.
Yep.
I mean, Mackey wrote this week about Cam Aldred, who I saw start a game, and they've I think I'm saying that wrong. They've put him in the starting role again, and possibly out of necessity because they didn't have enough starters, but he might be a guy that comes up to start games at some point. I mean, we just sent 2 pitchers down. I don't know where you're going next, but like Luis Ortiz is supposed to pitch Sunday, so
yeah,
who's going to do that now? I have no idea. I don't know what their plan is. I don't know what we can expect, but maybe it's Cam Aldred. Maybe they just go with a bullpen game. Could you imagine finishing out a series with a bullpen game?
I can't.
You better take the first 2.
So they're gonna bring somebody up to start a game. They have to.
Yeah,
you have to.
It's a good time for the All-Star break to come.
Yeah.
Get these guys. Maybe there is something that Luis Ortiz can figure out in an extended. I mean, you sent him down, but I wonder if he doesn't even pitch. Of course, I don't even know. Is Indy playing during the All-Star game? Those don't go together. Does Indy play that week? Because I know there's the Futures game during that. Did he touch that while it was in fair territory? No, it was foul. Number 2. All right, let's move on here.
Sure.
I think it's enough about the pitching. We understand where it's at. I think everybody's on the same page here.
It's rough.
We got an All-Star break coming up. Let's get some guys some rest. Let's see where we're at as far as that kind of stuff goes. And we'll get it squared away, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where else to go with that. Anything else from the Dodgers series? I mean, we talked a little bit about Nick Gonzalez. He's had some big hits. Sawinski with a big home run. I know he struck out to end the game, but when you hit a 3-run homer in that game, like you kind of, not that you get a pass for that, but it's kind of hard to knock him when we wouldn't even have been in that situation without him. So,
right. And it's not all on him. We had bases loaded and no outs. We can't score 1 run.
Yeah, twice. We had the, you had the deal there that you talked about where Reynolds lines out in the 7th with bases loaded, nobody out. In the 9th, it was the strikeout by Henry Davis. And the thing is like those are 2 guys that you kind of count on.
Mm-hmm.
But Henry Davis has been doing so well since he's been here. Like, these things are going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. And he's still young. He's still learning.
And Brian Reynolds hits that ball 98. It's just a line drive.
Well.
And you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you're not going to get them all. You can't say like, well, every time there's bases loaded with nobody out. What you'd like to see is you get out and still it be productive.
Right.
And I think that there's been some big hits. We started off this game down 2-0, and you get the Sawinski line drive that's misplayed by the left fielder, and all of a sudden you have an opportunity, right? You have to take advantage of those types of things. Granted, Sawinski hit that ball well, way better than what the left fielder thought. I'm blanking on who's playing left tonight. Peralta. So then, take advantage of that, because Peralta could have played that well, and you know what I mean, and it wouldn't have been a double. But then Nick Gonzalez comes right up and hits a double down the line, tie game. Yeah. So big time hit, and we had several of those. The game Tuesday night was a great game. I mean, just a great game to watch, back and forth. The lead changes were incredible. Just an altogether great baseball game. And, good for Buccos fans, we come out on top on one of those games. But ultimately, sure, just trying to look at it that way and see that, like, it really was a great game both ways. And you like to see those.
Bednar got some calls in the end of that game.
Yeah, he did. And my goodness, I mean, there were some calls all through that game. There was a call right there that Urias just got. I mean, catchers can get you calls.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we saw that. We definitely saw that on display. So I don't know, a mixed bag. There's been some missed opportunities, but there's also been some times where they've taken advantage of opportunities. Good pitching's gonna do that too.
Yeah.
Sometimes a pitcher earns it a little bit, and sometimes, I mean, it's hard to hit the ball. So I don't really know. I don't know where I'm going with that. I feel like you can't twice get up with bases loaded and nobody out and leave them out there.
Right.
You can't do it. At some point, somebody's got to step up.
Yep.
All right, so are we ready for this yet? Or I think I'm stalling time.
Just because you don't want to talk about it?
The draft is coming up on Sunday, and we have been very, I would say, quiet about the draft and the way that we kind of are leaning, maybe, right?
Yeah.
It's 1-1. This is a big move. Let me ask you before we go into the actual players and the decisions that are in front of the Pirates. Where do you sit with 1-1? With drafting number 1 overall, where do you sit with the importance? Now, we were doing this show when Henry Davis, I meant to go back and listen to how we handled that and the things that we said. And I didn't get an opportunity to do that. Where do you sit with this kind of a decision?
I mean,
take the players that are there this year. Take them out of the equation when you answer this. And I'll give you an example here to give you like a little bit of a background of what I'm asking here. I just got a lot of guys I've had some conversations with. You can't screw this up. This is really important. Just things like that where people are saying you can't miss on a 1-1. You cannot do it. It's unacceptable to do that. Where do you stand on that sort of comment? Like, how important really is this? And is it like, could this be a franchise shifting pick? Could this be, maybe not? Or could this possibly be a franchise destroying pick?
I don't think in any way, shape, or form it can be a franchise destroying pick. Do I think it could change the franchise for the better? I mean, sure, at any point in time. But it's not the fact that it's 1-1. It's the fact that there's some good players out there who are, you hate to say can't miss prospects, but they're as close to can't miss prospects as you can get. And man, I just don't view a draft ever in baseball as can't miss, because you just never know.
Yeah, I mean, for the Angels, pick 26 or whatever it was a franchise shifting pick. And there's a number of those, right, that we could go through and say guys that weren't picked 1-1 have the potential to be franchise changing draft picks. So yeah, I mean, I see that potential.
I just don't ever see a pick destroying.
Right.
Because if they don't pan out, they just don't pan out.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of other things that are in the mix there too, where you can kind of say, when you say can't miss, there's a lot of guys who have been misses at 1-1, and I don't know that's necessarily the end of the world. I mean, we can even point to, I'm trying to think here. The fact that, like, You talk about 1-1. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. was the first 1-1 to go to the Hall of Fame.
Right.
And then what? Chipper Jones?
Yeah, I think so.
I think those are the two. So, of all the years of 1-1, two guys, I mean, I know we're talking Hall of Fame here.
Right.
And I don't know that it's that easy. I mean, you look back, North Shore 9 had, what's his name on their show? Jim Callis.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of made a remark and kind of a joke about Brian Bullington, which was a Pirates 1-1 pick. And they kind of made that statement like in passing, like kind of joking at the fact that like, well, we picked Brian Bullington, that didn't work out. And I thought it was really interesting how he kind of corrected at the point to say, hey, but that wasn't a bad pick. He was clearly the 1-1.
Yeah.
Yes, it did not work out. But in the moment, hindsight's 2020. In the moment, that was the right decision and the same decision that any other team would have made in that time. And I thought that was really interesting because we were young. We wouldn't have been paying attention to that sort of thing. Not to mention it didn't get the hype that it gets nowadays.
Right.
So things like that. And I thought that's really an interesting take. I think in recent years, 1-1 has become a little more important and a little different. Henry Davis is a good example of that, and I know that's the Pirates, but they could have picked a high school guy, and they went with the best bat in college baseball, and, I mean, he's turned this thing into, like, he's here now already. He was a 2021 pick.
Yeah.
And he's here. And you look at the 2020 pick in Spencer Torkelson. Now, he was consensus number 1 anyway, but he's in the majors. And you look at the 2019 pick, Adley Rutschman. He's in the majors. He was there. Made his debut in 22, just 2 years after he was, technically, he missed a year because of 2020. So when you start throwing that sort of thing in, that makes it a little more difficult. But when you start looking at guys like that, I mean, they're showing up soon. I think the last high school pick was Royce Lewis was out of high school, wasn't he? He from Minnesota. He was young.
Not sure.
I think he was. And so he lost 2020. He was 2017 first overall pick. He lost 2020. And then he came in, and I'll get to why this is becoming important, and we'll bring this up, but he came in guns a-blazing, tore his ACL in 21, missed 2020, tore his ACL in 21, tore the same ACL in 22. Granted, he's played 26 games this season, hitting 326 with an 827 OPS. But like the idea is like this guy's dealt with injuries as well, and maybe kind of delayed it. Mickey Moniak the year before that was Moniak for the Phillies. That was a big deal. Made his debut in 2020. It was 4 years after because he was a young player. He ended up getting traded because it wasn't working, and now he's working out for the Angels. He's looking good right now, hitting over 300, 9 homers this year. And all of a sudden, this is a 1-1 pick who's working out to look to be a bomb. And they traded him to get Noah Syndergaard. I wonder if they regret that right now. I wonder. I'll have to ask Ryan about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, how do you feel about Mickey Moniak? And I'll be like, oh, don't get me started. Philly fans can find a negative route to anything, so I'm sure they hate that.
Yeah.
But you look at some of the other guys in recent years, David Price, Steven Strasburg. You think those were good picks?
Well, yeah, at the time, yeah.
I mean, do you think those are good picks right now? Do you feel like those were 1-1s?
Yeah. I mean, for the talent that they possess, it's unfortunate that, Strasburg's always hurt.
Okay. Because that's the talk about one of our guys, is it's the best since Strasburg.
Yeah, and like when Strasburg is on the mound, he's awesome. The problem with him is when he's on the mound.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Was Strasburg a franchise impact player, changing player? He was the 2009 1-1. Did he win them a World Series?
Yeah, I mean, he won them a World Series.
Did he win them a World Series before hitting free agency?
Not necessarily.
I
No.
can guarantee you no, because in 2010, the 1-1 pick was Bryce Harper for that same team. And is he a franchise-changing player?
He did not win them
He
because they
did
won
not
it the
win
year
them a
after.
World Series. And he left when he became a free agent. And you're looking at those two guys picked 1-1 back-to-back years. And in the 6 years that they spent in that franchise, they did not win a World Series.
Yeah.
So before we get up in arms about who this is, Garrett Cole is worthy of a 1-1.
Oh, yeah.
He did not make us win a World Series. Now, granted, his best time became after those first 5 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty normal for pitchers. I think you work your way and then you really become that great, great pitcher once you get to that point of your career. I think pitching does get better with time. Where hitting sometimes in today's game, they come out swinging.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they struggle later. Now, that's not, no individual is not an individual, right?
Right.
Everybody should be treated different. And we just looked at a bunch of guys. Casey Mize was the 2018 pick, pitcher, 1-1 to Detroit. And he's kind of had an interesting go at it. He made it up to the majors in 2020. In 39 starts in the major leagues, 4.29 ERA and 188.2 innings. That's a 100 ERA plus, which means he's a league average pitcher. And he had 2 starts in 2022, and last June, Tommy Johns, he hasn't pitched yet this year. So that's an example of a 1-1 who becomes a league average major leaguer, which from a draft pick, you expect it to be a major leaguer.
Yeah.
And he ends up, at this point, Tommy John, we don't know what that career is going to be, but that's a 1-1 coming out of college. I forget where. I feel like he's an Auburn guy or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But
I'm not
anyway,
good with that stuff. And
I know, me neither.
It's hard to follow.
It is. But I looked this stuff up, right? So I have a little bit of a, I looked up these players to see, okay, what was their trajectory? And I went back as far as Mickey Moniak. I'm going to keep messing that up until somebody corrects me, and you're not going to because you don't know either. But 2015 was Dansby Swanson. That's obviously been very good.
Yeah.
I can't say that he won them a World Series. I mean, look at the loaded talent they've got there.
Right.
The 2 years before that was Mark Appel and Brady Aiken. And Aiken didn't sign Appel. We know that story. And I haven't seen Aiken either. So neither one of those guys are working out.
Right.
And that's back-to-back pitchers. Before that, it was Carlos Correa. Once again, loaded team. I can't really say that he was the reason they won. I can say that Max Muncy just hit a 2-run bomb. So, you know, we've gone all the way back to 2007 here. Obviously, excluding last year's 1-1 pick because, come on, it was last year.
Right.
So, all of that just to set up that the 1-1 pick has the potential to be really special. And it also doesn't necessarily have to be. Bryce Harper is a special player.
Yeah.
He was in the majors right away as a very young player. Yeah. He probably, if he continues to play well, is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He certainly has earned a lot of money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Steven Strasburg has been a very good pitcher. the injuries have been an issue, but a very good pitcher. David Price has had huge moments in his career. World Series moments in his career. And then a lot of those guys are younger, right? But I'm not going too far back because I feel like the game changes over time. So I think that's where I made my cutoff.
Yeah,
was David Price. And did I convince myself that a pitcher or a hitter is a better move by looking at history? I haven't yet.
Right.
Because I looked at Dansby and Correa who came into loaded teams. I can't say that they were hands down the reason. I talked about Bryce Harper and Steven Strasburg, pitcher and hitter, and Garrett Cole even, who were very good. Garrett Cole and Steven Strasburg. I mean, I'm not going to give Steven Strasburg that much of a nod over Garrett Cole. And right. Strasburg was a bigger prospect than Cole, and so is Paul Skeens. Now, as we start to talk about names, it's a bigger deal than Garrett Cole was.
Yeah.
And yet, Garrett Cole's had the same career. I mean, he hasn't quite got to that World Series. Oh, yeah, he did. He won with Houston, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Did they win it when he was there?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Man, 17. why am I questioning that? I don't think he was there for a World Series. He was in Houston in 2018 and 2019. Did they win it that year?
Oh.
They won in 2017.
2017.
They did not win. They lost the World Series in 2019. 2018, they lost to the Red Sox in the championship. So he hasn't even got that ring yet. So not quite Strasburg, if you want to count rings as part of it. Not quite the career of Strasburg. He hasn't got the Cy Young yet either, has he? Did he just get one? No. Did he win that one?
He lost it to Verlander, his teammate.
No, I mean the one. He was close last year too. No, he lost it last year to
Chicago.
Yeah. He was not even close. He was not close. Wait. Oh, because he missed some games. Yeah, he was number 2 in 2019. Number 4 in 2015, but yeah. And number 2 in his first year. That's what it was. His first year in New York, he was runner-up as well. To Robbie Ray.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but I don't think Strasburg has one either. So either way.
No, I doubt it.
Either way, I'm not looking it up because I feel like we're wasting time. The point is like, I don't think that this is necessarily something. I think it's going to be big. But like how many MVPs have we named out? How many Cy Young awards have we named out in this list? I mean, we only went back to 2007, but I think Price has one.
Yeah.
Correa doesn't have an MVP, does he? Did he get an MVP?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Dansby certainly hasn't. Garrett Cole and Strasburg without that. Bryce Harper's won a couple.
I think he's won a couple.
So either way, these are the 1-1s, and this is what we're looking at right now. Do I think Rutschman? I think he probably has a chance to someday. Anybody after that is too early to tell. It could be big, but it doesn't necessarily have to be World Series MVP type stuff. And you might get something different. Oh, no, I think we lost Jake. All right, Jake is out. I am going to pause so we can bring him back and see what the problem is. And we're going to get into our picks, who we think the Pirates might pick. We'll be right back. And we're back here on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Sorry about that short delay. Lost Jake for a second. What happened?
I'm getting pounded with a storm right now.
Okay.
Pounded.
Okay. So it might happen again.
I'm hoping my doggy door's in. Gonna be honest.
All right. Okay, so we talked about the importance of the 1-1 pick and whatever. Let's talk players now. There are 5 players at the top of this board. I've got 4 of them I'd like to talk about. The fifth I will leave off. I didn't get to look very much into it. If you want to bring it up, you can. But we're going to say we've got the 2 LSU guys, Dylan Cruz, Paul Skeens. We've got Wyatt Langford at Florida. Those are your college guys. And then the kid from Indiana, Max Clark. And then the other was the fifth, and I can't even think of his name right now.
Yeah, I can't either.
So you're kind of the same as me. You looked at the same 4 players, basically.
Yep.
I think if you go high school, you go Max Clark, and that's why that's all the further I've looked. So let's get into this. Let's try to, as quickly as we can, let's make a case for each guy, as if that's the guy that you like and you think they should draft. Let's make a case for each guy. I'll give you a shot, and I'll piggyback off what you say. But let's start with Dylan Cruz.
I mean, he's a 5-tool center fielder. He's going to be dynamic. He's going to be able to hit you for average and power. He's going to be able to run bags. He's going to be able to. I mean, he's got all the tools.
He's got all the tools. He's been the guy at the top of the board for a long time. I think sometimes, if I'm making a case for him, right? So
yep.
I think sometimes when a guy's been at the top for that long, we have a little bit of fatigue, prospect fatigue. And we start to say, well, let's get somebody else up there. We've been talking about him long enough. And that's the only reason he's moved off of number 1. He's your number 1 guy. The power's there. Not quite as much as maybe another guy, but the hit tool's so good, you'll be okay with that.
Right.
He's your number 1 guy.
Also, you look at a guy this guy's our number 1 overall. This guy's the number 1 overall. And he still goes out there and performs like he's the number 1 overall.
He shows up with all of that in his face.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So let's flip the script a little bit. And now the 2 of us think that 100% Paul Skeens is the draft pick. Let's make a case for it.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? This is a generational talent. His mechanics are flawless. You know, he's a big-bodied guy who's doesn't seem like the guy that's going to be injured all the time. He seems like he's going to be able to hold up and withstand a big workload. Like, this is your guy. You know, he's going to throw you strikes. He's going to make bats miss. You know,
you hear the argument all the time that where else are the Pirates going to get a starter like this? You're never going to compete in free agency to get a guy that could be as special as this. It's just not going to happen. You drafted Garrett Cole in this very spot. He was great. You're going to have to do the same thing here. It doesn't matter if you get Dylan Cruz or Paul Skeens. You're not re-signing either one of them. So go after the one. If you're scared of re-signing Paul Skeens, don't be. You're not going to re-sign him anyway. He's going to be here for 5.5 years, and then he's going to move on. And that's the way it is. Maybe if you're in a World Series push, he's here for the full 6. But you're not bringing him back after that. That's just the truth. But you have to get what you can get out of those first 6 years. Not to mention, the guy hasn't had a huge workload. Yes, he threw a lot of pitches. He throws once a week. He didn't have that workload at Air Force the 2 years before that. He was a two-way player who proves he was an athlete because he could hit.
Yeah.
Double digits in wins and home runs. He goes to be a pitcher only and takes his game to that next level, which is where he's at now. Everybody talks about the fact that he could be good enough to be there right now. You look at the pitching prospects that we have, he's likely better than those guys are already.
Yeah.
I don't think the Pirates will move him that quick, but you talk about next year, this guy's going to be here. Draft him number 1. He's your guy.
Yeah.
I love how we're just jumping into that. Let's do Wyatt Langford. And I'll go ahead and start with this one. If you want power that you're not going to get from Dylan Cruz, this is the guy that'll get it for you. Even if he doesn't stick in center field, he's a corner outfield and a great one. And he's going to bring the power that this lineup actually needs. We can hit at times, but what we're missing in this lineup is power. And specifically from the right side. We've got lefty power. I want that power from the right side. Let's get Wyatt Langford in here, save a couple bucks so that we can maybe push to get a guy who fell and get him in. We've got a lot of money to spend. And getting Wyatt Langford might be a really smart way to spend that money and still get power. Any other year, he's won one.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's going to hit the ball country mile. The power's not there from anybody else in the draft, and that's like you said, that's what we're lacking in Pittsburgh. That's what we lack in our organization as a whole. So why not? Why not go for the power 1-1?
And I'll make a case for the last one to be Max Clark. You got all these college bats. Once again, Max Clark. I can't stress that it is important. We've got a lot of money to spend. It could be very important and strategic, especially in a year like this. Because in any other year, Max Clark is your 1-1 pick. There's no question about it. And he's going to go for full slot. The only reason that you might be able to save money on him is because you got Dylan Cruz and Paul Skeens, who people think are going number one. And Max Clark would be your 1-1 in any other year. Take advantage of this deep pool. Get the high school guy who looks to be, this dude is special.
Yeah.
He's a long ways off because he's a high school player, but him and Termar Johnson can come up together and be that next wave of prospects. It's not just about a window. If we could get this guy, we could be talking about when some guys are moving out, we got two guys coming in.
Yeah, and that's what you're looking at building here. That's what you're looking at other franchises, and that's what they're doing. They're building for the long term. And the long term isn't just let's get this guy, like you said, piggyback on somebody else. Now you got multiple guys that age. You got multiple guys coming through at the same time. That's how you build a winning organization that is sustainable when you're a small market. So do the smart thing, take the young guy. Let's extend our window instead of keeping our window focusing on the short term. Like our window doesn't have to be a 4 or 5 year window. We can make this window a 15-year window if we keep drafting people and progressing them through together out with the current influx of new guys that are just as talented. You're not having those down years. You're spreading your organization out instead of bundling them all together through these drafts.
Yeah, it's the argument of window versus waves. That we've heard, and Sherrington's kind of talked about that. You don't talk about necessarily creating a window to win, but waves of prospects and waves of talent. And, that kind of gives you that. We're not going to just open a window and then sell everything to get to win that time and then deplete everything and start over. Instead, you want to continue to bring it in. But just number 3, drama right now. Jack Sawinski struck out. Andy Haynes must have said something, and they just showed a clip of Kershaw going, throw him out. Andy Haynes gets thrown out of this game and just comes out charging.
Wow.
Good move. I like it when coaches are going to stand up for their players. Who Sawinski did not like that call either.
Yeah.
He did not like that call. I'm going to go back and look at it now and see if that was a bad call against Sawinski. Looks like 4 changeups. A ball. Oh, the last one looks like a strike. He didn't like it, but it looks like a strike. Maybe he was mad about the other one. No, because those are swinging strikes. Interesting. All right.
I turned mine off to free up some internet space. Not going to.
Oh, that's a good call. Anyway, I like to see Andy Haynes go out there and fight for his guy. Yeah. Shelton had to pull him out. And then Shelton gave him an earful to stand up for his coach. So
yeah,
I'm about it.
Yeah.
All right, so we broke it down. We made a case for those 4 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I wish I could think of that other dude. I'm going to get his name real quick just because I know I can. Because there's the 5 at the top that basically what everybody's been saying is you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
That there's 5 legit guys. And Sherrington is already, so Walker Jenkins is his name. And it's 2 more outfielders. You're getting an outfielder or a pitcher. 1-1.
Sure.
There's no doubt. Walker Jenkins, I think, is like big dude, massive power. Max Clark, from what I've heard, is all around best player, like in the draft.
Yeah.
But still has something to prove, apparently.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's playing against high schoolers.
Yeah, he's young.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's ever been a 1-1 from Indiana. I think I read somewhere. Okay. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, that could have been not right. So we made a case for all of them. I see where he didn't like that call. That's a great pitch. It's low. It definitely looks low when they show the replay. So we made a case. Let's just go for this. I'm not sure I'm even decided, and especially after we just went through that. Do you have one?
I'm more undecided now than I was before this podcast started.
Yeah. I think that's the way it's been for a lot of people. When you get down to nuts and bolts and you start thinking about it, it makes it harder. Who were you before?
I am not envious having to make this decision. Like, I would rather have the third or fourth pick in this draft with this pool and just be like, whoever falls to me, I'll take. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
But I think the more we talk about it, the more, and after watching some more videos and stuff this evening, like, I'd be hard pressed not to pick Max Clark.
Really?
And let him come up with Tamar, that next wave. Because we do have a lot of guys that are close right now. And you're talking, I mean, like Dylan Cruz is a stud. He's good.
One thing we don't have on those close guys is a center fielder.
You're right. You are right. You know, and if we pick him, I'm going to be super excited.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, let's go.
But you can't, and so you're talking Dylan Cruz gets drafted, then he's coming to this team in 25.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just the way it's going to go. You're going to work him into some rookie ball. He probably jumps quickly to high A like Henry Davis. And then he spends a year in starting with high A, moving up to double A, possibly even making it as far as triple A, but that's unlikely because of the way the Pirates do things. They'll start him off in double A, move him up to triple A, or start him off in triple A. And when Super 2's over, he'll be here in 25. Let's get real. I'm not trying to wish. Right. I'm not going to act like, oh no, they'll be better about it. He'll make the opening day roster. Maybe he does. Maybe if we're good enough in 24, he makes the opening day roster in 25. But you know,
right.
We're just talking here, and chances are he's here at least after the service time.
Yeah.
Even if it's not Super 2, he's here after service time. If we're a really good team, April 16th, he's on the team. You know what I mean? And he shows up, and we have a center fielder, and Jack can move to a corner, and whatever else is working out.
Yeah.
I mean, if Jack lasts that long, I don't know what, the future holds right now, and that might depend. Maybe they go out in free agency and get a center fielder who can handle center field, maybe not the type of bat that Cruz is, but can get us through 24 with a solid center fielder.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to think of a comp. It's not worth my time right now, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
So
and Skeens, I don't even see Skeens pitching the rest of the season, the rest of this year. So I don't think, like, I know there's been people have said, hey, you pick Skeens, he's here by the end of the year. I don't see that happening. I don't see them even, he might throw a game or two in rookie ball or something. But
yeah, I think they'll work him into some games, but
like, I mean, I'm watching some guys on MLB Network, and they're saying he's probably not going to pitch this year at all.
It's possible.
They're just going to just wait till next year and get him going, because he did have a big workload at LSU.
Yeah.
And they said with that workload that, they expect that he probably won't even pitch the rest of the year, maybe pitch in winter ball or something like that.
Yeah.
But So I think if you want them to pick Skeens because you think he's going to be here by the end of the year, I don't see that. I
Yeah,
don't
it's a
I
good
don't
point.
see that as an option.
That's the wrong reason.
Yeah.
You don't want him here that or if this team is in it, I could see a better case.
If he's even throwing though.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Let's say he's going to throw a little bit at the end of the year. If this team is in it, I could see you bringing him up to pitch out of the bullpen in a
Like a David Price
like a David
situation.
Price situation. You know what I'm saying? Like that
Yeah.
would be the extent of it.
Yeah.
And I don't see that happening.
I don't either.
I don't think that's in the cards right now. So however, you could still be Skeens without that.
Yeah.
100%. You could still be Skeens without that. But
Yeah,
if
if we
that's
pick-
your reason for Skeens, that's a bad reason.
Right.
And
if we pick Skeens, I'm going to be super excited about it.
yeah. And if your reason not to pick Cruz is Scott Boras, that's also a really bad reason not to pick him. You're
Yeah.
not going to sign Cruz to an extension, Scott Boras or not.
Right.
It's likely it's not going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hate thinking of that, and maybe there is a chance it does, but there's a better chance it doesn't. There's a better chance he goes to free agency before this thing's done.
Yeah.
There's a better chance of that. It does. It kind of makes you think, what about Henry Davis? What about O'Neal Cruz? What about Nick Gonzalez even? I was all right. All these guys gone? If so, did we make the right? We're not going down that route. Did we put the money in the right place? These are all questions, but those are questions for another day. Right now, what you should be looking at is who's the best player. And I think that's what Sherrington looks at. I don't think he looks at how soon can these guys be here. If you want to talk about Wyatt Langford being a fit for power, well, how do you know that? Once again, he's not here till 25. We don't know what kind of power that team's going to have.
Right.
What happens if Sawinski continues down this path and he's a 40 homer guyer in 25? And let's throw way things out there, right? Somehow you get a first baseman hitting bombs. Whether that's a free agent or Mason Martin figures something out.
Or Malcolm Nunez hits for
Or
power,
Malcolm Nunez
you know?
figures something out and plays first base, and you got a bunch of power. And Brian Reynolds is a little bit, he's hitting that 31 power time. We just talked about before we started. Adam Frazier has a career high total in home runs of 10. He's 31. That's his career high. Did it twice. He's already there.
Yeah.
So you start to get to that 30, 31, and you start popping the ball out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Reynolds could be that kind of guy.
Yeah, I could see that.
All I'm saying is
Cruz
Henry
hitting-
Davis, O'Neal Cruz, all of a sudden this team does have power.
Yeah.
Then do you really need, you don't draft in this year for a need that you have this year because you don't know what your needs are going to be when he's actually ready 2 years from now, a year and a half from now. You're talking a 1-1. I mean, Henry Davis got here very quick, and both Cruz and Langford project to get here quick as well. So when I say 25, that's quick.
Oh, yeah.
That's very quick. So you can't draft based on what your needs are right now. Whether that's starting pitching, center field, or a power bat. You can't do it.
This ain't football.
No. So then the last guy we talk about is Max Clark. And the question that you would have there is, do you pick a guy that maybe still has a lot to prove? Do you pick a guy, if you are thinking window, are you kind of picking a guy who's not going to be here until after the window? You know what I mean? So then if you're more of a window guy, then you feel like these guys could help you in a run in 25, 26, where Max Clark probably won't be here yet. You're further down the road for him, maybe 27, 26, 27. You know what I'm saying? Realistically, Royce, we talked about Royce Lewis. It took him 4 years. That's, a 1-1 from high school, you're going to look at 4 years.
Yeah.
So anyway, those are really interesting takes. We got a lot of them. So I go back to it because I know that we kind of question. We've done positives, we've done negatives. Let's do 2 more things. Let's wrap this thing up. Who's your pick? Now, granted, I feel the same as you. I think any of these 4 guys, and maybe this other guy too that we didn't really, Walker, whatever, that we didn't look into, because apparently he's legit too. And I just, that's on me. I just didn't get a chance to see it. I was not sold on Max Clark either. To me, it was one of these 3 college guys. And then I saw more about Max Clark, and I really just don't think I'd be upset if that was the pick.
Yeah.
I don't think I go to Max Clark. I don't think I draft Max Clark. And I think maybe you said you might be leaning that way.
I might be leaning that way, actually, because I think it's because I'm not rooting for a window. I'm rooting for
Waves.
this franchise to set up to be good for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that does help that along. And if you think, and if the process or the guys, experts, there we go. If the experts are saying he's the overall best player, then why is that not the guy that you were looking to draft?
Right.
If he is, in fact, the best player, then that's the guy I want. But man, is it hard to argue against that pitcher.
Yeah, and so that's where I was going to say next is I'm kind of leaning towards Skeens or Clark.
It's so crazy.
Because if where are we going to get a pitcher that is this talented other than the draft?
Well, where are you going to get a center fielder? It's not much different.
It's not, but I think that you could get a center fielder easier than you can get a top of the line starter. You could get a center field if all of our guys that are here right now plus 1 or 2, end up progressing. You can like you said, you can go get a center fielder, maybe a little bit more of a veteran guy that's not at the end of his career, but
Jake
can handle the position.
You could make a case that this team's a first baseman and an outfielder away from being the team that will push for the playoffs. Starter-wise. Maybe not the bench roles, but you could see Hayes, Cruz, Gonzalez, and a first baseman, and Sawinski, a center fielder, and Reynolds, with Davis and Endy behind the plate. Like, that's actually a legitimate... You could argue that is the team that will push for the playoffs.
With McCutchen as a DH.
Maybe, unless that's 25 and he's maybe not there even. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could make a case that is part of the team that could make a playoff push in 25, like a legitimate division winning playoff push if the pitching comes around, that you're only like a couple positions away.
Yeah, I mean, but
and
you're not
and natural progression.
Right now. Yeah.
But right. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying offensively,
yes.
You're literally like, you could be just 2 guys away.
Yeah. And if you could go out and get a center fielder, even if it's a center fielder who's on like the last year and a half of his contract or the rookie status, who's good, the team's just struggling. And they're going to get rid of him. Now, it'd be hard to get. Now, you're going to have to get rid of somebody, but you can't blow up your whole franchise to get that.
Pirates game right now is Mason Martin in his last 9 games with a 1.2 OPS and 4 home runs in his last 9 games.
Look at that.
It's hilarious. Anyway, we do need to keep moving. So let's do it. You're on the clock. We've already said you're not making a wrong decision. Who do you pick?
Max Clark.
All right. I think I'm picking Skeens right now. I will regret that. I really like Max Clark too, and I like Dylan Cruz. I think I pass on Langford right now. I either go Cruz and give him all the money, or I go Skeens. But certainly, I think if it was my board, it's 1 and 1A, Cruz and Skeens. I don't have a preference. Max Clark is 2 and Langford's 3 on my, like, those are my decisions.
Yeah.
All right. Who do the Pirates pick?
Skeens.
You think they go Skeens?
I think they do.
I would not be surprised if it's Max Clark. I think it's Skeens as well. I think it's Skeens as well.
I just don't care. I just want the draft to be over.
I
Know who
do.
we get.
I just want to be excited about who we got. But I'm telling you guys right now, if it's Max Clark, they did not screw this thing up.
No.
And all of the cases that you want to make for any of these 4 players are a good case. For me, I think Langford is not my 1-1 because I don't think he's played enough center field to show me that he can. And right now, we've got a left fielder locked in, and I'm a believer in Jack Sawinski, and I don't believe that Jack Sawinski is a long-term center fielder. So if it's Dylan Cruz for me, it's because he can play center field, and I'll sacrifice a little bit of that power. Otherwise, I really do like that 1-2 punch of Termarr Johnson and Max Clark down the road.
Yeah.
I really do. But yeah, I think Paul Skeens is the pick, but pitchers are dangerous.
Yep.
I don't know, man. This is hilariously hard.
It is. It's a good problem to have. It's a good predicament to be in, but does it make it tough? I'm just gonna say I'm not gonna give them a hard time about whatever choice they make.
No, and that's the thing.
This is an impossible decision.
Whatever choice they make, we have to remember this. They've done more homework than we have.
Mm-hmm.
They've spoke to these kids.
Mm-hmm.
They've talked to their parents. They've talked to the agents. Assuming.
Yeah. So,
no matter what, I trust that whatever decision they make in the moment will be just fine. Yeah. Now, what happens after that is a completely new ballgame. And if you don't believe in the development plan that they have then you're definitely picking Cruz or Skeens. Right. Don't go after a high school guy if you don't believe in the development program. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's interesting too. All right. This has been a fun one. I don't really know how long we went because we did have that big break when you lost internet and my timer just ran the whole time. I never actually paused it. I'll edit it later. So I think we're real close to our hour here. We're not going to talk about the upcoming series of the Diamondbacks. You guys know how it is. They're playing really well. Corbin Carroll's a special guy. But hopefully we go into Arizona and I think we're playing well in LA. Keep playing well. You might not come out on top, but we're talking about 2 really good teams.
Yeah.
So, Sunday, can we record during the draft? You think we can make that happen?
I don't know because I don't know my work schedule yet.
Okay. All right. We'll see. But next time we talk to you guys, we'll be able to talk about who the Pirates picked 1-1. We'll be able to have that discussion. I will not record before that pick. I will tell you that, Jake.
You know what? I work from noon to 8 o'clock p.m. So
what time's the draft?
I don't know. It's a good question.
7 p.m. Eastern.
No. Yeah, I work till 7 Central.
Till 7 Central, so no.
So 8.
All right. Well, maybe I will press record and record my reaction to that. And then bring you in for your reaction. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys. That's all we have for this week. I need to start hitting some music and getting us out of here.
Yeah. My contacts are driving me nuts. I need to get them out.
1-1. You know what? I might have something else to talk about Sunday. I might not. All right, guys. Enjoy your weekend.
Nice cliffhanger.
It's a cliffhanger. You got to come back for Monday. I mean, you will anyway, because the Pirates are about to draft 1-1.
Yeah.
Let's go Bucks.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks!